Hello, good evening, Brazil. It's not evening, it's midday here in Tel Aviv. It's already evening. So thanks for this great opportunity to present here in FastBuilt. Thanks for the organizer for inviting me. I'm Zachi Flatto, the CEO and co-founder of ConTech. I'm a civil engineer by train and an entrepreneur. And I want to start by taking you to a historical tour of the Israeli automotive industry. You'll understand in a minute why we're starting with automotive industry. So that's a car manufactured in Israel 70 years ago. That car was made of fiberglass. It was the flagship of the Israeli automotive industry back then in the 50s, 60s of the last century. It was made of fiberglass. They used to make a joke that if you leave it in the desert, probably the camels are going to eat it. Probably true. I've seen a couple of cars like this back in the 80s of the last century. And if we're going in this time tunnel a bit forward, like 70 years later, that's Mobileye. That's the flagship of our industry, automotive industry today. This company was acquired by Intel for more than 15 billion US dollars 4 years ago. And today that's the flagship of the Israeli automotive industry. That's a technology dealing with autonomous driving. It's implemented in a lot of the cars today. In BMW, it was part of Tesla and some other companies. But the interesting thing is that it's not the only one. We have above 700 different automotive, auto tech, smart mobility startups dealing in this domain here in Israel. You can see a lot of the automotive companies coming over to Israel, the CEOs, the managers of these companies coming to Israel, opening R&D centers, opening scouting centers, technology centers here in Israel during the last 7 years. So relatively, that was a short process. And this is exactly our lighthouse. This is exactly what we want to make with our construction tech industry here in Israel. That's our vision. We want to make Israel a central hub for construction tech. And I believe this is happening during the last 4 years. So this is ConTech. ConTech is a construction innovation hub and an incubator as well, based here in Tel Aviv, center of technology, Israeli technology. It's an interesting cooperation between the Israeli government, the Ministry of Housing and Construction, the Ministry of Economy, together with the Association of Israeli Government. I think it's quite a unique cooperation between the government and the private sector, both understanding the timing and the opportunity to develop a construction tech industry here in Israel. And the reason that they understood that is that they both bring their own point of view, their own angle on this issue of construction and the need for technologies. They understood that there was, back then, 4 years ago, there was no central hub for construction tech worldwide. You know, in other technology domains, you can find many centers. Like if you're going to automotive, it will be Munich in Germany, it will be Detroit, or today Palo Alto in the valley, in the Silicon Valley. If you're going to cybersecurity, there's some other centers. But in construction there is no such center. There is no Mecca of the industry, and that was the target back then. That was the vision, the statement mission, and this is what we're doing during the last 4 years. And each part of this corporation brings its own angle to the corporation, starting with the government, Ministry of Housing and Construction, bringing the regulatory point of view into this corporation, the regulatory issues in construction and in implementing new technologies into this industry. Ministry of Economy brings a lot of experience and know-how in how to build these ecosystems. So they have done that many times before with other technology domains, such as automotive, such as agri-tech, such as digital health, and some others. And the Association of Israeli Builders, which brings a lot of know-how about the construction industry. They bring the on-site point of view to this corporation. A small overview about our industry. So it's about $25 billion industry, obviously quite small comparing to the Brazilian one. I don't know what's the size, but probably a lot more than that. About 60,000 apartments being built in a year. I know that's probably the size of one contractor in Brazil, 1 or 2 contractors in Brazil. A lot of infrastructure projects might be railways, light rail, underground, airports, marine ports, a lot of harbors, two new harbors, a lot of foreign companies operating in Israel constructing these projects. The Ministry of Defense, which is one of the largest developers in Israel. And obviously that's about 10 to 12% out of the GNP. The reason that I'm showing this slide is that there are a lot of opportunities for the local startups in here in Israel to pilot, to test their technologies before they go abroad. And they can, most of them, 99% of the technologies that I will present today and that are in the ecosystem can try the technologies in here before they go to the States or to Brazil. So it's a good sandbox for them. So what are we doing in ConTech? Basically, we're working on 3 main pillars. We're developing 3 main pillars. The first one is building this ecosystem. And building this ecosystem is mainly by connecting the Israeli high-tech, the Israeli technologies to the construction industry. And this is pretty challenging, you know, because the difference, the gap between technologies and construction industry is huge, simply huge. And we're bridging between these tech guys, tech companies to the construction industry globally, mostly globally, but also locally. Because as I mentioned before, we see the local industry as the first beta site for these technologies. So how do we do that? How do we build this ecosystem? So it's quite simple, actually. We're doing that through a long list of industry events. Industry events like meetups, roundtables, Demo days, hackathons, international events, event such as this one, where we come and present our ecosystem to the global industry. Events such as Construction 4.0, as you see in my background, that was the first international construction tech event in Israel just 8 months ago, evening of the Corona. Looks like a long dream, but we had a physical event here in Tel Aviv with over 400 participants from all over the world, from the largest construction corporates such as Vinci, the French contractors, Arup, the engineering firm, Deutsche Bahn, the German railway company, Sika, the International Contractors Association, which our association is also part of, Laticrete, Cemex, the materials, the cement provider, Umdash, the owners of Doka, VCs from all over the world specializing in construction tech, such as Metaprop New York, such as Fundamentals, backed by Heidelberg Cement, and some others. So just to give you an idea, last year we've done about 15 different events. This year, probably tens of virtual events, that international event, a hackathon that we had at the beginning of this year, together with we work with Lafarge Holcim, which is a cement provider, cement manufacturer, French company. Also, hackathon focusing on different solutions for the construction industry, such as sensors for the cement industry. Our challenge was around safety. We got some pretty cool solutions on that. Obviously, a lot of social networking activities. You're welcome to join our LinkedIn channel, our YouTube, our website. A lot of interesting content over there. So this is the first pillar, building this ecosystem. Now we see a big growth in this ecosystem. We'll speak about that pretty soon, specifically about the Israeli startups. Now, second pillar is building this incubation program. We're working in a yearly program. Already the fourth batch started 2 months ago with some cool, interesting companies. With two main targets. The first one is a product market fit process, which is very important for these startups because a lot of them don't understand the market good enough to go forward with their solutions. So we're helping them curate their solutions, helping them find the right strategic partners, and eventually helping them find these partners and bringing them to a point of a pilot project. We have an interesting portfolio over there. You can see that in our website. The second target in this program is helping them get funded. So we're not a VC yet, but we're helping them get connected to global investors, local investors, governmental programs. So we're also working closely with the Israeli government in order to put together different programs to fund local startups in here. Just to give you an idea, we've been putting together a program together with the Innovation Authority, which is the arm of the government that funds the Israeli startups. So that program is dedicated just for construction tech startups, and they fund pilots for startups that comes together with the industry. So a contractor, for instance, comes with a startup and they ask for a grant from the Innovation Authority, and they get up to 70% out of this pilot cost. So it pushes the industry forward. Now, the third pillar of our activity is cooperation with industry partners. And I gave a couple of examples just to give you an idea of these segments of the corporates that we're working with. So starting with GCs, developers. So I gave as an example Vinci, the French contractors, some local contractors, big developers, landlords, and some others. So that's the first segment. The second segment is software providers serving the construction industry. So companies such as Autodesk, which is their Israeli R&D center located also in Tel Aviv, working with them, and some other providers for the construction industry, software providers. Materials industry, so I gave as an example Samex, which participated in our international event, Laticrit from the States, and some other providers. Machinery companies, so the Caterpillars of the world, the Black & Deckers of the world, Hilti, for instance, which is a Swiss-based power tools provider, working with them as well in the Israeli ecosystem. And the last segment is utilities and infrastructure. So a good example is Deutsche Bahn, the German railway company. We're working with them on different occasions with their accelerator called Mindbox. So we've done a couple of events with them this summer. The outcome was that one of the Israeli companies was chosen by them for their coming acceleration program, working closely with Energy Eon, the German energy manufacturer. So you see in a minute, we've mapped together with them the Israeli ecosystem and a couple of others. So this is, just to give you an idea on which construction segments we're working with. A couple of examples for industry events. So as I mentioned, both local and international. You can see our Construction 4.0 event in here on the right upper side. Events such as Future Tech San Francisco, where a lot of contractors, US-based contractors, are participating. Delegation, so that's an example of delegation we had to Hong Kong, roadshows, MIPIM Hong Kong, and some others. So this is part of our global activities worldwide. Now, I want to jump into a couple of examples for what we're doing, for what our startup's doing. And just to give you an idea, this is a map that was done 2 months ago. In here, you see nearly 180 startups. I guess today it's already over 180. 4 years ago, when we started, there were probably about 10 to 20 startups. So there's a huge growth during these last 4 years. And this is exactly the process that we want to have. We want to see growth in the number of startups, a growth in the investments, and a growth in mutual projects of the Israeli startups together with global players. Now, I want to give you a brief about this map, about the different technology. It is divided into right side of PropTech solution, which deals with the projects or with the buildings or infrastructure after they have constructed. And on the left side, you see construction tech solution, which deals with the process starting from the design, plan, construction phase. So in general, we're looking on a building or an infrastructure as a product, and hence it has a life cycle starting from, as I mentioned, design, plan, construction, and maintenance and management. So to give you a general idea of what type of technologies we're dealing with, on the upper left side of the map, you can see advanced materials and building methods, starting with, materials like companies such as eConcrete, which deals with marine ecosystem-friendly concrete, being designed for marinas, ports, and this is simply a new concrete, a new material, which enables the development of marine ecosystem on top of that concrete, unlike regular concrete, regular marine concrete. Companies that are dealing with different type of sustainability technologies, sustainable materials, company called Criteria, which was part of our incubation program, dealing with tiles made of recycled materials, glass technologies, company that was pivoting their technologies from the automotive industry into the construction industry, different 3D printing technologies, additive manufacturing, combining a technology as software technology together with hardware and with new materials, different sensors for concrete, analyzing the situation of the concrete during the pouring process, different facades, materials, new materials, a minimal CO2 emission technology for concrete, different recycling technologies, and some others. As you can see, there's a nice bunch of companies in here. Actually, looking at it, it's like it's the most developed segment in here. Now, moving to the enhanced on-site execution, different technologies for on-site execution, starting with robotics, implementing different materials. So a company which is doing a robotic technology for plastering, painting, already exists, already working. A company dealing with autonomous tower crane. So imagine that crane on a job site working completely autonomously with a lot of computer vision, AI, machine learning technologies. Really interesting. A company which moves the operator of the tower crane to the ground, from the top to the ground, operating the tower crane just using joysticks from a ground operating system. Different technologies for analyzing the job site, using sensors, using cameras, different type of sensors. For instance, a company called Versatile, which installs sensors on top of the tower crane, analyzing the job site, see what comes inside, what goes outside, comparing it to the scheduling, comparing it to the BIM model, and creating some recommendations for the project manager for optimizing the job site. Moving to project management and collaboration platforms, different type of project management, reworks, tracking, monitoring, scheduling, and budget optimizing, change orders of residential projects, and some other interesting companies. Safety, which became a major issue in our local ecosystem. So different companies which simply digitalize the process, moving it from papers to applications. Sounds simple, but still very challenging to convince that industry to move from paper to an application, to a smartphone application. Even safety applications that base their solutions on top of BIM. So we see a couple of interesting BIM solutions. Inspection and as-built monitoring here in the middle. So again, everybody wants to understand what's going on the job site. It's quite a chaotic place. You want to understand, you want to create, you want to optimize the processes. So a bunch of different companies taking pictures on site, using video cameras, GoPro cameras installed on the helmets of the inspector, taking pictures, taking videos, and comparing the pictures and the videos to the BIM model, analyzing the deltas, the different managers. Doing the same process from using drones, and using the same process using the cameras on site and some other sensors. So that's also pretty developed area. This is a new segment that we've just added to that map, and that's infrastructure technologies. Some of these technologies dealing with execution process, some of them with maintenance and management. So solutions such as Manam applications dealing with maintenance and inspection of bridges, specifically on bridges, giving a full solution A to Z, starting with the inspection process, which is currently challenging, being done manually. Solutions such as Sieve Drone, replacing the surveyors in order to make marking on site, these pins that surveyors are putting in infrastructure projects, in roads, construction, simply replacing the manual process with a small robot running and putting these pins according to the plans. Pretty cool technology. Different planning and design technologies. So also in here, we can see interesting BIM technologies, companies such as BMatch, part of our current batch of incubation program. That's a BIM solution which makes a marketplace based on the BIM model, which post the helping to post and to make the procurement process based on the BIM model. Quite a cool technology. Different generative design technologies dealing with different optimization of the design process, starting with a company called Swap from our last batch of incubation program, optimizing the architectural design of residential and offices. Very interesting technology. So you're giving the space, and they just they give different options for design. Companies such as StructurePal, optimizing the constructional design. So we know there's a lot of it's a big challenge to optimize the structural design. They're using that by using different algorithms, AI, machine learning, technology. Very interesting. I'm quickly moving to the right side of the map, which focuses on PropTech technologies. As I mentioned, jumping to the maintenance and management phase of the project. So to run quickly on that, under marketing solutions, you'll see different technologies, AR, VR technologies for marketing of properties, building virtual solutions for marketing of apartments, properties. Under that, location-based services, specifically for internal usage, shopping malls, large properties, campuses, universities, hospitals. Pretty cool solution as well. Underneath that, finance and investment platforms, so solutions specifically for new financing models. At the middle, on the upper side, real estate insurance and securities. So you might be familiar with some of them, pretty famous, such as Lemonade, Jones, which deals with the insurance of the subcontractors, which is a big issue. Different marketplaces, either for the construction phase, for subcontractors, materials, or for the properties themselves. Different smart home solutions here on the lower side, and on the right side you see property and infrastructure management and maintenance solutions. Interesting solutions dealing with water optimization, water usage. Companies dealing with different IoT solutions, sensors to monitor the internal, the inside of the properties with different parameters. Companies dealing with robotic solutions for cleaning curtain walls, analysis of the air quality, and some other parameters. So as you can see, there's a nice variety of different technologies. You're welcome to get into our website and see that map. It's a dynamic map, so it's all clickable. You can get into the map and into the different startup sites. And if you're interested in one of these startups, we'll be happy to introduce you to these startups. So that's bring us to the end of our presentation. I'll be happy to be in touch. I'll be happy to hear from the Brazilian market. I believe that there's a good potential for cooperation between the Israeli tech companies and the Brazilian construction market, construction related market. And again, you're welcome to contact me. You're welcome to join our LinkedIn and our newsletter website. There's a lot of information there. And thanks again for this great opportunity. Thanks.